Hi everyone, my name is Terry Westwell and today is Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our book of the week, which is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. First, this is a spoiler-free section, so if you haven't read this book yet, don't worry about it, it won't be spoiled for you here. There will be some spoiler-related things that I want to discuss, but that'll be later on in the video and you will get plenty of warning. If you'd like to join in on any of the discussions, send me your thoughts, comments, or even a short video clip of you discussing the book. Then I'll list the next upcoming 4 books in the description below. So I rated this book 5 stars. I was delightfully surprised with just how much I enjoyed this book because I have read a few of Sarah J. Maas books before. Like, I have read the first few in the ACOTAR series and I've read most of the Throne of Glass series. Now, the reason why I haven't finished the Throne of Glass series is simply because I read so many of them back to back that I eventually just sort of ran out of steam. I do think I'll probably go back and read those at some point, but as for the ACOTAR series, it just wasn't really for me. Now, don't get me wrong, I love what the series has done for reading. It has introduced people to books and brought them back to reading. The series didn't fully click with me. There were certainly parts that I enjoyed about it, but I just wasn't a huge fan. Which is why House of Earth and Blood surprised me so much because honestly, it feels like it was almost written by a completely different author. I do think that it is the strongest first book to any Sarah J. Maas series. Okay, so a quick summary. This book follows Bryce, who is a half-fae woman who lives in Crescent City. Crescent City is filled with angels, fae, witches, demons, shifters, a range of magical creatures. When a brutal murder completely shatters Bryce's life, she finds herself drawn to the investigation that unveils secrets far bigger and far more dangerous than she ever expected. Part murder mystery, part fantasy adventure, part romance, this book unravels into something far bigger than its initial premise. If I had to compare this to any other book, then I would probably say that it reminds me a little bit of Serpent and the Wings of Night, Direbound, Quicksilver, that sort of fantasy. I will say that it is closer to Throne of Glass series than it is ACOTAR. However, if you're not a fan of ACOTAR or it didn't really do it for you, then don't rule out this series just because of that, because I almost did and I would have missed out on a fantastic read. One of the biggest surprises for me was the pacing, because this is a big book. We're talking over 800 pages. Now, normally when I pick up a book that is that sort of size, I can almost guarantee that there will be entire sections, chapters that I'll feel are unnecessary, could have been cut out, or just at least reduced. However, with this, I flew through it. Like, I demolished it in a matter of days, and that's because despite the size of this book, I felt like the pacing was incredibly strong. There was always clues to uncover, the mystery to be solved, the relationship was constantly developing, or parts of the world being revealed. I loved the characters as well, not just the main two, but a lot of the side characters as well. I think that the relationships were layered and believable, and by the end of the book, I was really invested in what happened to almost everyone. And I do think that that's something that a lot of books, especially fantasy, don't tend to do that well. A lot of the time I find the side characters just sort of feel like they're only there to help move a plot forward, whereas in this, it definitely felt like they were important in their own right. I also think that it's Sarah J. Maas's strongest world building. The magic system just feels more developed, the politics feel more developed. I just think that the overall world feels bigger and more complex, but despite that complexity, it doesn't, it's not hard to read or follow, and I think that it is her more ambitious world building that she's created. Now, my main issue with Sarah J. Maas remains to be the same, and it is this repeating of phrases. In ACOTAR, it was watery bowels, which I absolutely hated. With this, it is a lot less specific, and it's more just repeating words for emphasis. Like sometimes we would get 3 words that would be repeated in quick succession for impact. But if I'm honest, when that happens enough times, it sort of loses the impact that it was trying to go for. Fortunately, it wasn't enough to ruin the book for me, but it is something that I do notice with her writing. So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? Yes, absolutely. And as I said before, I certainly wouldn't rule it out just because you didn't like any of her other books. And will I be reading any more by this author? Without a doubt, after finishing this one, I'm looking forward to picking up the next one and finding out what happens next. Earlier on in the video, I said that you would get plenty of warning for any upcoming spoilers. Now, this is that moment, so if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going and doing that first, because beyond this point, there will absolutely be spoilers. So I have to talk about Lily because that scene, like, she is, throughout the whole book, she is funny, she is loyal, and she's just one of those characters that really grows on you. And then Sarah J. Maas goes and gives her one of the most emotional scenes in the entire story. Now, the thing that makes that scene so devastating is the timing, because we just found out that she is free. After spending her whole life as somebody else's property, she now has her freedom. And Bryce was going to plan this party. She has her future, and yet she chooses to sacrifice it. And not because she has to or because she was ordered to, but because she loves her friends. And then there's the drop, because the entire ending sequence was great, but what really got me was when Danica showed up to help Bryce still make it through the drop. For so much of the book, Bryce is still grieving the loss of her best friend. She's trying to understand all of these secrets that Danica left behind, and even wondering if she knew her best friend at all. But when it mattered most, Danica was still there for her. Like, I just felt like the image of Bryce taking that final leap while Danica helped guide her like they had always wanted was just a really beautiful payoff to their friendship. Like, I just think for all of the romance in the book and the mystery and the fantasy and the action, the heart of the story was still Danica and Bryce. Like, their friendship is what drives almost everything, and I think that that's why it works so well, because it's not just about saving the city and it's not just about the romance. You know, between Lily's sacrifice and Bryce making the drop with Danica's help, the ending hit me a lot more emotionally than I originally expected. So overall, House of Earth and Blood was a huge surprise to me. Going into it, I really didn't know how much I was going to enjoy it. I'd had mixed experiences with Sarah J. Maas before, and honestly, I wasn't expecting it to become one of my favourite reads of the year. But if you've read it, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Did you love it, or did you prefer ACOTAR or Throne of Glass? Next week we'll be discussing Rook and Rebel by Kate Crew, so don't forget to get your thoughts and comments in by Sunday the 14th of June at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram or Discord. The following week will be Ask for Andrea, but don't forget, if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list next 4 books down below along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It's always appreciated, and I will see you next week. Bye! If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message.